I was told in one of the meetings that Sarah had with one of the oil companies, I was told that that's a difficult, given the tax structure of Alaska, that's difficult to figure out how that could make money, how that industry, a natural gas liquids industry, could make money in the state of Alaska. My response to which is, look, I don't care how much money the state gets. What I want is infrastructure, and I want jobs in the state of Alaska. That's what the maximum benefit of the people meant to me. So when I got involved in the Sarah Palin campaign, that was my goal. My goal was to do just those things, improve education in the state of Alaska, and to get us an in-state all-Alaska pipeline so we could have a natural gas liquids industry. Anyway, the end result of my involvement, I don't have any regrets. Look, I'll admit this, women are hard to read. And women in politics may be even harder to read. I don't know. But Sarah Palin was particularly difficult. She did not often come out and tell you what she was thinking. She let you make an argument, and then she would go back and discuss with sort of an inner council the direction she was going to go in. So it was difficult for me to be involved, but it was something that I learned from, that I'm at least somewhat proud of. And, in the end, Sarah Palin's a person. She's just a human being. I think because the federal government spends, what do they spend? 100 billion, trillion, cajillion, what? $3.8 trillion. Sorry. It's not as much as 100 cajillion, trillion, billion dollars. But they spend $3.8 trillion, and as such, people expect our elected leaders, and that's an error, by the way. Our government was never intended to be that large, to have that much power over each of us individually, ever. They never would have formed our country if they'd have known where it's gone. But because of that, we expect them to be smarter than every corporate CEO. We expect them to be wiser than Solomon. I mean, because they have so much power, and it's power that they don't know how to morally exercise. If ever we needed moral leadership, which would moral people would immediately decrease the size of government. They would immediately stop printing money that they didn't have and stop passing the buck on to the next generation. It's now. So anyway, my takeaway on Sarah Palin is I'm not sure. She's not the leader of the Tea Party movement. I know that for a fact. Could she end up being a smaller government person? I don't know. I do know that if we do not figure out a way to decrease the size and power and invasiveness of government in our lives, that eventually, we just can't keep printing dollars. It just doesn't work that way. I found out, as it turns out, one of the emails that I was highlighted in from the governor was me asking the question, as a member of her team who was involved in gas line issues, I wanted to know whether or not Governor Palin was going to keep to her position, her original position, while she was running for office on the gas line. Now, I was berated in the email, and it was an unpleasant thing, but the question still stood. I didn't understand what happened between the time that she was running for office and between the time that she became governor. Well, as it turned out, I found out just a couple of weeks ago, and it was Marty Rutherford. Marty Rutherford's position on what I consider to be probably the most, if not the most, one of the most important provisions in our Constitution, is that our natural resources will be produced for the maximum benefit of the people. Now, unlike some of the people who believe that the government is the people, now those are truly socialist people. I believe that we are the people, and that the maximum benefit for the people is not the maximum benefit of cash for the government. It is infrastructure, it is industry, and it is jobs for Alaskans. That is the maximum benefit. Now, it turns out that Marty Rutherford does not hold that position, and she is very clear on what she believes. It was explained in detail to someone who I had a meeting with, and he explained explicitly that Marty Rutherford disagrees with the statement that I just made. Now, you can never, ever vote for someone who disagrees with the idea that the maximum benefit for the people is industry, infrastructure, and jobs. If it is cash for our government, then that person will not govern as a free market capitalist. they will govern as a socialist. And they unfortunately, they just don't have the vision for what makes Alaska work. So Marty Rutherford cannot be elected back to office. So people should start with that understanding. And these are my biases. This is my understanding. You should always know where the people who you're talking to are coming from. So I found that out, and what I wanted from Governor Palin was, what was her position on the gas line? As it turned out, she came out with a GEO, which changed her original position and allowed the TransCanada, the maximum benefit, maximum cash for the government, to become the maximum benefit for Alaskans because of Marty Rutherford. Probably Tom Irwin, too. So let's take a couple phone calls, and then I wanted to go into the media version of Palin derangement syndrome, which came out earlier this week. I don't know. I feel sorry for people. Let me go to Val here. Val, welcome to the program. Thanks for holding.
Ooh, maybe I'd like to listen to this next little segment you're going to do before I comment. But I'm just wondering what it's like to know that you worked hard to get the most liberal tax and spend governor that we've ever had elected into office. I bet it's hard to fall asleep sometimes, huh?
Yeah, well, she turned out to be a little different. And what happened was, I think, and this may not be your position on it, in her book, the most telling part of her book that I saw was when she said she was going to meet the oil industry after she got elected. I don't know if did you read her book, Scott?
Are you kidding? No.
Val didn't read it. I was looking at Scotty.
No, I didn't read it.
All right. Well, she was explaining that she was going to go meet the oil industry, and these people who had just tried to harm her or hurt her or do something bad to her, and she went and had a smile on her face and was going to give them cookies. And it was a really personal kind of thing where obviously they wanted somebody who was less harsh to industry, and she was more harsh, but she takes it personally, and then she said she painted a smile on her face and made them cookies. I don't know. To me, that was a really bad thing, and an indication that, look, she has got to get over a lot of what's going on right now if she's going to be anybody of note on the national scene.
She's silly. Who knows why she does what she does? And to think that she's the leading contender for the 2012 GOP
and by far, it's not even close.
Oh, yeah, well, I have... Anyway, this whole newcomer status that you mentioned, that when she jumped in for the governor's race, she was, you considered her a newcomer. That's just silly. She's been an elected official since the early 90s. And, that sports complex we have in Wasilla cost the city just last year $725,000.
Yeah. Well, a lot of sports facilities, in fact, I imagine probably all of them cost every city that they're in.
Well, when she told us to vote for it, the sales tax that was going to pay for it, she said it was going to break even.
Yeah.
So,
that's positive thinking, the power of positive thinking.
Well, no, it's the power of getting people to do what you want them to do to... let's look at how Aegea Aces how she convinced the legislators to vote for it. You're either for Alaska or you're against Alaska.
Yeah, and that was her base. That was her baseline. It was all very personal. It was all you're either with me or against me, and then it turned out to be that case when I kicked off the island.
Well, and when this the corrupt bastards investigation was going on, that was another way. She held that over their head and threatened them with it. You're either corrupt, or you're for Alaska, or you're against Alaska. And so now what do we have? We have Aces and Aegea, which, a lot of people wonder, are you just jealous of Sarah? Is that why you don't like her? No. I know where my money comes from, Glenn. I know. Granted, it's through my husband's hard work, but I know it's the oil industry that has afforded me to live the lavish lifestyle that I live, and I appreciate it. My husband works hard for it. He's a good employee, and then I got politicians like ignorant Sarah Palin walking around threatening everybody. And, I get excited about it because it's important and it matters. And a lot of people think, oh, well, you must be so vocal about this because you want to be a politician. I can't think of anything worse to be than a politician. I couldn't handle it.
I agree with you, Val. It's funny that a lot of people, they get wrapped around the axle with Sarah. And people who are listening to any time anybody brings up Sarah's name, Scotty here worked on the campaign.
Polarizing.
Yeah. You're either one way or the other with her.
It seems like that. But, throughout history... a lot of presidents got elected that way by polarizing the...
it didn't make much difference back then because the federal government and state governments were just small little entities. They really didn't make that much difference in people's lives, I don't think.
Well, they were smaller. I'll give you that.
Much smaller.